to Upstage Downstage, with him, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And him, Stephen Rees, typically seated in the cheap seat.
This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen,
Things we've liked,
and may not have liked,
giving our complete unprofessional
and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew,
Take a seat,
and let's raise that curtain. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Chicago the Musical. We saw this production at Nottingham Concert Hall on the 12th of April 2025. Created by the musical theatre talents of John Kander, Fred Ebb and legendary choreographer Bob Fosse, Chicago's sexy, sassy score with one show-stopping song after another, including Razzle Dazzle, Cell Block Tango and All That Jazz, earning 6 Tony Awards, 2 Olivier Awards, a Grammy and thousands of standing ovations. So Stephen, what's it all about?
Set amidst the razzle-dazzle decadence of the 1920s, Chicago is the story of Roxy Hart, a housewife and nightclub dancer who murders her on-the-side lover after he threatens to walk out on her. Desperate to avoid conviction, she dupes the public, the media and her rival cellmate, Velma Kelly, by hiring Chicago's slickest criminal lawyer to transform her malicious crime into a barrage of sensational headlines, the likes of which might just as easily be ripped from today's tabloids.
But first, our post-show opinion.
This was Razzle Dazzle this.
And where was all that jazz?
So with all that said, let's
Set the scene.
Right then, Richard, set the scene. Let's talk about the set and the costume. Sorry, laughing before we start here. When I say costumes, we can get into that later. It'll only be about a minute. But let's just set the scene.
Oh, it's a bit dark.
Okay.
So when we walked into the vast chasm that is the Nottingham Concert Hall, Royal Concert Hall, we walked into quite a bare stage, but a proscenium arch lit with little gold edges, and just a black scrim cloth down with one chair at the bottom on the stage.
I was half expecting this to be without all that, to be fair, because the performance space is quite vast. I thought they'd just do it like just
open stage.
But no, they closed it off, so they had their own little stage area, to focus on. What else can we say? Oh, the band was playing on the stage, but done in a way where they were integrated within a makeshift sort of a set, which was quite tiered. Yeah,
so it's almost like a stepped, almost what you'd see in an orchestra where they're lifted above on sort of staging that stepped right the way up to the back of the stage, but there was another framing element around them behind as well, just to sort of show that was the musician's space almost.
Yeah, and they're all sectioned off. So you had a piano player in one section, and then you had you had various other musicians dotted around, but they were all like clumped together.
Yeah.
But within the middle of that was an entrance for the actors to come in and out of the stage and the setting, as well as around the outside they could get to it.
Yeah.
But where the musicians were, it was sort of like in little blocks.
Yes, it was.
But it was angled, so they were sectioned off. But like the very front of their little staging was low, but it sort of ran along the sides up to the back at an angle.
I think for me, the easiest way to describe it in a sense is it's very similar to a American big band performance where they tend to tier their band up with, because we call it Chicago the Musical, but it's really Chicago the Concert, the way that it's actually put together, as in it's more of a concert presentation of the musical, because there isn't any set other than this tiered staging for the band in a way, and in the centre portion of it there's an entrance for cast members to come straight through the middle.
Yeah.
And then there's, like you say, there's lighting down both sides, there's entrances down both sides, and it's quite minimal and it's quite dark as well.
Yeah, and also because that was slightly pushed back a little bit, all the action takes place just in front of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all we had really. In terms of the costume, everything again was dark and dull.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of lame, there was a lot of stretch black cotton, where like a lot of the trousers were just black stretch trousers, so they allowed them to dance in them. Trousers. But it was highly polished and pristine almost. Everything they wore, there was little glimmers of probably some of the costumes had some sort of glimmer when the light hit them, but that didn't translate really when you're in such a big space for a production like this.
And also because they made their own little proscenium art, and deadened the space there with the black material, you didn't get any like reflections from all around either.
No, exactly.
Especially when you had the outside lit up.
Yeah.
They had every now and again makeshift ladders swing in and out from either side.
Yeah.
To make out like they are the kind of ladders that are used within a normal theatre space to sort the lights out.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was very stylised, this whole set, and the look of everything was. So whilst that can look quite aesthetically pleasing in terms of it matches the poster, like black and white with red lettering and everything, it looks quite good. However, all the way through it, I mean, let me just say that you could see why they did it, because they were all in prison, and just to cut back on that, just to showcase the songs, the singing, the dancing numbers.
Yeah.
For me, my big gripe here is where was the razzle dazzle? Because even at the very end, Roxy Hart and Val McKelly were finally released from prison, and they did their show together. They never actually got glammed up. Right at the very end, they were still in their black costumes. They didn't. That could have been elevated.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have actually had white garments there that sparkled. Yeah. They could have had an upglow, and the whole thing, even when they were shooting at the background material that came in, even that felt a bit half-assed. Now, I know I'm jumping a little, but...
Well, that was poor.
It was too... What do you call them?
Well, the slit drapes looked like they'd come from Amazon quick on the day before.
Because they did little things, weren't they? So they wouldn't even cover 2 doors. You need at least 4 or 5 or 6 of them.
It just wasn't wide enough to give you the effect of a different space. It's still...
It looked lost.
It did.
And also, for the negativity aspect that I'm inputting here, even the costumes outside of prison that they could have worn, the extra dancers or the bits in the whole Billy Flint and stuff, if it wasn't for the feathers being colourful or different, then you didn't really have that much colour.
No, you didn't at all.
There was nothing exciting. For me, the whole show is about that glamorous side of things, because they're in the theatre world. They want showbiz. They want to be showbiz. They want to be seen as being different and better.
And it was very difficult to get your head around what was real, what wasn't real. It was sort of, I just felt like, are they storytellers or are we reenacting something?
It felt like seeing something on a budget.
Yeah.
Like they really only had like £10 to spend on this.
Or because it sells so well, people, something I said to you in the audience, charge a lot for your tickets, but would you necessarily go again? So they do it that many times around the country where you sell out, and then they wrap it up and do it again in a few years, knowing they'll sell out again.
And for a lot of people, as long as they get to hear the songs and have a good time and have a few drinks, they'll spend their money. And It's like taking money away from people for a very quick and easy production.
Exactly.
And call it stylised.
Yeah.
When it's like, you could have elevated it a little bit more. You could have made it colourful a lot more. They've clearly done it in a way to represent something for a stylistic approach, but that's not all what the show was about.
And I mean, the other thing I mentioned to you on the night was I felt like the set actually hindered the cast actually putting their all into the dance performances. Because sometimes when all the ensemble was on stage performing, they were tripping over the staging at where the band were. There was times when they couldn't fully move well because they'd got the restraints of something behind them, because the stage wasn't big enough and they're meant to be doing Bob Fosse style dances, and I felt like there was some points where they didn't have the freedom to perform at their best because they'd got restraints You know, and sometimes that's good, but in this production where there's nowhere to hide, you want them to have the freedom to move around.
So whilst you have picked up some good points there, let's move along to Here for the Drama, and let's go deep on that.
Okay. Moving on to our next segment, as we say, we're
Here for the drama.
For the whole performance of all this, I feel like it was quite stifled. Now, you say about the actors in the previous section not being able to move.
Yeah.
Right. I felt like Mama Morton and also Amos were stuck
they were.
in the position. Now, Amos, he can get away with it because he's not necessarily wanting the limelight for his cellophane song. But Mama, she should have commanded. It felt like whilst her voice could and her physical presence could, she didn't move around the stage.
No, when you go to Mama, she just sat on a chair.
I don't think she did. She just stood there.
Yeah.
Didn't she? She just...
Yeah,
I can't remember seeing that.
She was very static.
She was very static. You know, you could move around, you could address everybody, but it just felt like she wasn't allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that kind of thing where it's like, she's going to deliver these songs and it's going to be so good. You don't need to move about. Just listen to the song. But actually, you can do both. Like, it felt like a stylistic thing just to keep her in the middle.
Yeah, but when there's nothing else happening on stage or there's nothing... You talk about a stripped back production or performance, but I think this was stripped back that much that it almost pulled some of the soul out of it. You know, I feel like it...
Well, they certainly took the colour out.
You lost focus because to just almost deliver the songs, you know, and I forgot, I've seen it before a long time ago, but I forgot that all the songs are in the first half that everybody knows. As in, all the well-known songs that you see on telly or that were released as part of, like, you know, or that people are aware of, they're all done after the first 5 songs. You know,
pretty much, yeah.
But for me, it's very strange in a writing process to put all your best songs at the start and then everything else feels like filler a little bit. It's weird because I know they're meant to set up people's stories, but then it didn't seem to elevate.
I can understand that. I mean, it didn't take away anything for me. What I felt was, I mean, I love the film. That's the first time I've ever actually seen the story in itself and the musical. So it was really nice to see or hear the other songs that are not in the film at all. It still annoys me to this day that they didn't keep Class in the film. So, but it was nicely done with all the rest of them. So it was nice just to expand that universe of seeing or hearing more about Velma as well and all the others. In terms of the song and the production, I felt the choreography was really good. I felt the dancers and the actors as well, they did phenomenally well. And I just felt like Velma Kelly was just brilliant, especially when she had to climb up the ladders and be pushed in and out.
Yeah, exactly.
Being able to hold herself up there and still deliver on cue. I thought that was brilliant. Again, how was it French or Russian? It was Russian, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Russian ballet dancer, how she met her end as well. That was really nicely done.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
I think I'd probably say, I know we touched on costume in the previous section, but I think because it was so very stripped back, you lost focus on the main core characters sometimes, where you had to keep reminding yourself who people were.
Who played what, yeah.
Yeah, because it just blended too much.
Yes, because Roxy Hart, she never wore a blonde wig, did she?
No.
She wasn't blonde at all.
No, not at all. And I think and not just that, I feel like when you're playing for such a vast space, it's very difficult to draw focus on the people that are the main points when everybody sort of disappears on stage, because the stage floor was black, everything was dark, and everything, and it felt like a dark production. It didn't feel like classy or I think that's where I was going with it, really.
And also, if you're head to toe in black, and the stages are black, you've only got certain points of your body, if you are white skinned, that actually reflect light.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and there was only like your hands and your face or a bit of your neck. if that was on show.
And I feel like even if there
Or
were
maybe your
the odd
legs.
shot of colour or the odd part of, just something to elevate certain scenes, I think that was what was missing. There was certain times when you would have then taken it out of the prison into real world and then back into prison, because you know that that's their standard attire when they're almost out of the world and then they're in the world. And because then when they did the scenes that like went back in time almost to show you what happened, or you'd have transported to out of that confinement almost.
See, I was thinking to myself, well, have we just been spoiled, or have I just been spoiled in thinking how colourful the film is? But then I'm thinking, well, actually no, because whilst the film is colourful and it can go there and it can do it, all this, that and the other, there's no reason why the staging, even the costumes itself can't have a glow up and be better.
Yeah, exactly.
For even the very end.
Yeah.
Even if you were going to be stylised
Exactly.
and keep everyone in black sequins or whatever,
Yeah.
even the very end on release, they should have at least had a glow up, and even that never happened.
No, exactly. It felt very.
It was all subdued and slightly boring to the eyes.
Yeah, it was, and that's like I said, it feels like a concert performance where they've just learned the songs, and a few dancers, but not necessarily learned the characterizations or the elements you need to inject some difference into it. I think it felt one note, and I think that's the thing.
Yeah, they should have spiced it up for Mama, I think, on that one. Is there anything else you want to say on this particular thing? Because I felt it was no. Okay, for me, I felt it was all right. Apart from obviously being a bit slightly dull.
I think also what I would say is the whole ensemble and the dance performances, the vocals were all on point. Everybody, were great singers and great performers.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
I think it's just less let down by the aesthetics of the production, really.
Yeah.
And I know this has been a big decision, over the years. This is how it's been done. It's almost the standard way Chicago's done, but I just feel even the I suppose one thing we didn't mention was even the cell block tango. They just projected some lines on the floor to imitate that they were behind bars, and it just felt a bit lackluster. Like you didn't see the struggle. You just saw them sitting on chairs. It didn't imitate any more grit, did it? I think that's the thing.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I suppose if that's how you felt, that's how you felt.
I just think, I think you pay a lot of money for something like this, and to just see a few lines projected on the floor to imitate prison bars, and there was nothing brought on for that scene, and
I must say,
to take you to a different place. You know what I mean? You felt like, where are we now? Because we were in the same space that they've just been dancing and riding on the floor to, But that's what it felt like. I think that's what I mean. It's more.
I felt that there was a couple of beats behind, or I know this was like live singing of a production. They can slow it down or speed it up. They can do it their own way. And again, I have to think, well, I'm not singing the songs from the film. They're singing the songs from the production.
Yeah.
And I have to think like that, because whilst I wanted to in my head sing along, it's like they weren't singing along to me. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you missed a beat or something?
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself that it's a different production.
Yeah.
They're going to be singing differently.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of understand that it's definitely going to be different. But even then, it did feel like there was a bit of oomph missing.
Yeah.
And not just in the colouring of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, what the tech is this?
Technically, I think it was, everything worked, everything did what it needed to do. We could hear them sing from above at the back, so they'd done a good on the sound design of the production. Lighting wise, it was all right. It did what it needed to do. I can't say it was stand out.
No.
There was follow spots just to follow the cast around when they were performing, but it was very, very bare in the sense of they had a lot of LED lights and things down the sides just to light up, put some what looked like colour, but it was more just to enhance the gold and the black, really. But other than that, there wasn't really much more to it.
No. Just lighting around the band area.
I think the other thing is, as I mentioned.
Did they not have like lanterns, or did they have like lights on the?
Yeah,
down
they
the
just
side
had
as well?
they had their coders down the sides and stuff, but it was nothing like magnificent. I mean, the other thing that they did do on the slit drapes that they brought in, which weren't very big, was they projected stars at an angle on them, but it didn't really look opulent or big. It just looked like a few stars being projected, but it wasn't necessarily groundbreaking.
And now it's time for
Rewind, rewatch.
I'd watch Cell Block Tango again. I know I'd talked about, could have been elevated, but I'd watch that again.
See, for me, I would watch this whole production again, but I think it would have to be in a different setting just to see if anything changes. One thing I would really, really like to watch again, now I don't know what particular song it is, but it's the bit where Roxy is reenacting what happened to, I think, Little Miss Sunshine or something, and there's a whole scene. No, it wasn't. It was in the courtroom scene that's extended, where she's shown a bit of leg and she's recreating certain things, and I've never seen that before, and it was so funny, so quick, and done so weirdly, because Velma, she's basically ripping off what Velma said she was going to do, and seeing that and being done that was probably the highlight of the show. I just wish I could remember what it was they were doing.
I wonder if it's Vote for Each for the Gun.
No, it was sort of after that, but it was around that time, because she's talking about that to the reporters and everybody else, but this particular scene was when she was reenacting what she was doing. I think it was after that.
Could have been Roxy.
We both reached for the gun. Roxy. Yeah, Roxy and the Boys. Yeah, it might have been that.
Yeah. Because
then Velma sees that, and then she has to go back and say, I can't do it alone, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I'd rewind and watch that.
Yeah.
Moving on to our final segment, as we say,
Call this a show?
This was good but not great. And I think it's style over substance, really, in the sense of the aesthetics are made to look good from a selling and branding point of view, but I just feel like there could be more done to elevate this into production that is memorable.
Yeah, for me, it was really nice to be able to finally watch the stage version of this, of one of my favourite films of all time, and one of my favourite musicals as well. However, I'd say I didn't particularly like the stylistic approach. As I've previously said, I think it needed a lot more colour, a lot more glam. There's certain things just not there. I just felt like this was an easy book of just taking the money and just putting on a show. They worked hard for it. The dancers worked hard and everything, but I just think in terms of appearance, there wasn't that much razzle-dazzle, really. Scores then, please, Richard, for Chicago. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a load of scintillating sinners and all that jazz, and 1 being not much razzle-dazzle, what's it going to be?
I'll give it a 6.
Nice. I'm going to give this one a 7.
Nice.
So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck? Tumbleweed? An audible shrug of the shoulders? A slow clap? A pleasant applause? Or a standing ovation? What will it be?
I'll give it a pleasant applause.
And I'm going to give it a standing ovation.
So there we are. That's our discussion of Chicago the Musical. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining.
Stay tuned as we bring you more of our thoughts
and opinions
on many theatrical delights in future episodes.
If you'd like to get in touch, email us at upstagedowstagepod@gmail.com. You can always join in the chat to share with us your views of a production.
Also, make sure to follow, share, like and subscribe to all our channels so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of
Upstage Downstage. Created by the musical theatre talents of John Kander, Fred Ebb. Right, created by the musical talents of John Kander. I should have just carried on. I didn't. Created by the musical theatre talents of John Kander, Fred Ebb, and legendary choreographer. Created by the musical theatre talents of John Kander, Fred Ebb, and the legendary just why I can't say choreographer.
Choreographer Bob Fosse with his jazz hands.
Created by the musical theatre talents of John Kander, Fred Ebb, and legendary choreographer Bob Fosse. Bob Fosse. It's Fosse, isn't it? Chicago's sexy, sassy score with one thumb. Chicago's sexy.
Sure.
Chicago's sexy, sassy score. That's why he wanted me to do this one.
Sexy, sassy score.
Cell Block Tango and All That Jazz earned 6 Tony Awards, 2 Olivier Awards, and a Grammy, and thousands of standing ovations. Want me to do all that again?
Yeah, earned 6 Tony Awards, 2 Olivier Awards, a Grammy, and thousands of standing ovations.
And 3 people sat down.
Yeah, and I think when you say a song after another, including, just slow them down a bit. Razzle dazzle, instead of. Because I think it just it'll help with your breathing, I think.
One show-stopping song after another in the first half only, because the rest of it pants. Chicago's sexy sassy score with one show-stop. Chicago's sexy sassy score with one show-stopping song after another, including Razzle Dazzle, Cell Block Tango, 6 Tony Awards, 2 Olivier Awards, a Grammy, and thousands of standing ovations.
Set amidst the razzle-dazzle decadence. Set amidst the razzle-dazzle decadence of the 1920s, Chicago is the story of Roxy Hart, a housewife and nightclub dancer who murders her on the side lover. Chicago is the story of Roxy Hart, a housewife and nightclub dancer. She dupes the public, the media, and her rival cellmate, Velma Kelly, by hiring Chicago's slickest criminal lawyer to transform her malicious crime into a barrage. Is it a barrage or barrage? Barrage. Desperate to avoid conviction, she dupes the public, the media, and her rival cellmate, Velma Kelly, by hiring Chicago's slickest criminal lawyer to transform her malicious crime into a barrage. Oh no, I don't want an update. Desperate to avoid conviction, she dupes the public, the media, and her rival cellmate, Velma Kelly, by hiring Chicago's slickest criminal lawyer to transform her malicious crime into a barrage. Barrage. Is it barrage? Am I saying it right?
Barrage.
Into a barrage of sensational storylines. Into a barrage of sensational headlines. The likes of which might just as easily be ripped from today's tabloids.
So with all that said, let's
look it. Because even at the very end, when Roxy Andrews and Velma Kelly escaped, they didn't escape, when they were let free from prison to go on their
Roxy
show
Hart,
alone.
Do you want to say that again?
Why? What did I say?
Roxy Andrews. Yes, Queen.
Damn it! Why? Do you know why? Because when you say sequence, I thought you were saying sequence rather than sequin.
Dress.
Yeah.
Roxy Hart and Velma.
Scores then, please, Richard. On a scale of 1 to 10. No. Scores then, please, Richard, for Chicago. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a load of scintillating
Scintillating.
Read my writing.
Oh yeah, I can't read.
As bad as the bloody doctor's writing. With 10 being a load of scintillating sinners. No. Slight clapping.
Clapping. Little bit of a clapping there.
So there we are.
So there we are.